that there were 6 million Negroes in the South at the time that Booker Washington gave that speech, right? And he reached out to them. He said, listen, you can either cast down your buckets among those who have befriended you and taken care of your children and tilled your fields and have basically run your society for you. You can either pull them up with you, or the whole weight of them will pull you down, right? So he was talking to blacks and whites. I think he was also talking in another aspect in terms of cast down your buckets where they are, where you are. And it's a message, I think, that resonates even today. You hear a lot about having to go to college and having to get degrees and having to get more degrees, and you have to qualify at some high intellectual level. And in fact, blacks were saying that then, even in 1895. They said, well, how come we can't go to Harvard? How come we can't go to, all of these fancy places? And Booker Washington saying to blacks, he said, cast down your buckets where you are. I think he was saying, what do you know? What are your resources? What do you have within you? Do you really have to go running off to New York City or to Boston, Massachusetts, or to some other place in order to find the resources that are going to help you live a better life? Maybe those resources are right here where you are. They're right here within you. They're right here where you have, they're the things that you've been doing all along. You just have to develop them. You have to cultivate them. You have to get them better. So cast down your buckets where you are, and that's where Tuskegee came in, right? Because Tuskegee was there to help people, not to learn Greek or to learn to play the piano or this kind of stuff. I mean, there was nothing wrong with that, but something that would enable you to have a skill and provide, for your family, and to build economically into the future. And that's the last thing that I want to talk about. Because you hear a lot about virtues. You hear a lot of virtues in the world. You don't hear the virtue of sacrifice very much. And I think that Booker Washington was a big teacher of sacrifice. This is obviously a very bright guy, a very smart guy. There must have been something about him that when he walked in a room, people would turn their heads and recognize him because there was something in his demeanor or the way he presented himself. And we talked about that a little bit, Pat and Edith and I, about the Tuskegee that was the presentation, right? The presentation of the person. And some people do take it a little over the top and get a little crazy with it, But I think the idea there was, here was a guy that after he gave this speech, he, in this day and age, he probably would have been like Colin Powell, right? He would have been on CNN, he would have been on Larry King, he would have been on all the talk shows and all this kind of stuff. He must have had people coming to him and saying, look, man, this is great. We think that you're wasting your potential, wasting your talents down there in Tuskegee. That's a backwater town. Those people are never going to go anywhere. Why don't you come up here to New York? Why don't you come up here to Boston? Come out to LA. We think we could use you. We could use a man like you. You've got what it takes. So it would have been very easy for Booker Washington to have picked up, moved to another place, took his family, provided a lot for his family, but he did. He stayed in Tuskegee and he sacrificed. In some ways, the family members here will maybe realize that maybe he sacrificed his family to some degree. So I think that's a lesson that we can learn from Booker Washington, the lesson of sacrifice. And with that, I'm going to stop.